last night the Treasurer handed down his first federal budget. The October interim budget is usually nowhere near as intense as the May budget. That's earlier in the year, of course, but this one was much anticipated, mainly because of the change in government. As usual, lots of budget sweeteners announced in the lead-up and some major programs being dropped as well, like the Building Better Regions Benefits Fund of the previous government. In our region, we are mostly represented by two National Party members, Michelle Landry, who is the member for Capricornia, and Andrew Wilcox, who is the new member for the seat of Dawson. They're, of course, both in Canberra at the moment, and Andrew Wilcox has taken the time to talk to us. G'day, Andrew. How are you today?
Yeah, great, thank you.
Yes, well, the first budget handed down by Jim Chalmers last night, and your thoughts?
Well, I'm not happy at all. It just goes to show that the Labor government doesn't care about regional and rural Australia. All my projects have been just given the flick. I can't believe it.
So, Andrew, we are represented in our neck of the woods mainly by two National Party people, and I guess the average person will say, well, that's to be expected. But I've known you for a long time, and in a previous role, I guess one of the things you're most proud of is being able to work with both sides of politics, and there were things that you achieved before going into, say, elections where you got the agreement of both sides. So you're genuinely not happy.
No, I'm genuinely not happy. I'll go into bat for our people, and that's because our people deserve it. Like, when we've had this little thing called COVID-19, the big worldwide pandemic, but our area, our people, the rural people, they kept working. All the farmers kept farming, they fed Australia. All the miners kept mining, providing with export dollars. We punch well and truly above our weight from Dawson area, so we need to make sure that we get some infrastructure and everything back to keep our lifestyle up. But my projects have just been cut out. So like Mackay Hockey, fantastic project there. Mackay Veterans Wellness Hub, we wanted $5 million for that. We don't have an RSL in Mackay.
That's right.
We don't look after our veterans. Some of them are suffering from PTSD. If people have been good enough to put their body on the line, their life on the line for this country, shouldn't we be looking after them when they come back?
Andrew, if I could, what I'll do, I had a quick look at this. So just the budget at a glance and the positives. Families are big winners with, by 2026, 6 months paid parental leave. Both parents able to share the leave and split it day by day. Tackling Australia's housing affordability crisis. So about 1 million new homes over 5 years. But in the last 5 years, we built about 985,000. So there's not much change there. I guess the big one's probably affordable housing. 350 million for 10,000 affordable dwellings. 10 billion to increase the supply of social housing dwellings. And 3 billion to deliver better aged care, which we've obviously been talking about, doing something about that for the past few years now. But no tax cuts for the average worker with tax offsets stripped. The Greens are saying no short-term help for housing budgets to help with basics like food and power. And on that note, the prices are set to increase by 56%. And the Treasurer is talking, and that was the big thing last night, about the constant impacts from overseas and the real challenges they'll bring. But that goes right back to when you might remember the Reserve Bank Governor was saying we won't have any interest rate increases until 2024. Then the week later came out and said they're coming because of what was happening in the Ukraine and so on. So that's nothing new. I guess the big thing, though, is could they have done it better? What could they have done? If you were doing the budget, what would you do to make benefit to people right now?
Well, we need to take care of some of the cost of living pressures, right? So a very simple one is Labor has scrapped the ag visa, right? So the National Farmers Federation said we need 172,000 extra people, to get our crops off and to make sure that we can keep farming. So the Labor's come up with a Pacific Islander scheme, and that's good for about 42,000.
Yep.
So I'm no mathematician, but I think there's a fairly big shortfall there, right? So you've got 130,000 people we need to bring in. So we've got the ag visa, right? So what that does is brings people in, so rather than having the crops rot on the ground and then farmers not being game to actually plant their crops, there's a shortage, which means supply and demand, basic economics, right? Your price goes up. So when everyone goes through the checkout and they pay more for their tomatoes, more for their capsicums, bean and corn and everything, they should have a look at that receipt and they should see Albanese's face on it, because that's the sort of thing that's affecting them and that's affecting their household budgets. It's absolutely ridiculous.
And they've actually said, and that was said last night, that one thing that's going to increase is the cost of fruit and veg. That's been made very, very plain. And the Treasurer is very worried about it. And you believe you have the solution.
So why not pick it, Perko, and actually put it on the shelf and give it to the people who are out there hungry rather than let it rot on the ground. It's a lose-lose for everyone. The farmers don't make any money out of it. And, of course, the worst thing that's happening now, they're not going to plant as much. So, absolutely ridiculous. What the budget's not talking about, though, is the extra $50 billion that they've had in windfall gains, right, which has largely come from the resource sector. Mm-hmm. It's ag and resources, the export dollars we've earned from them, and their policies are against those two industries. It beggars belief, but I'll be going into bat, let me tell you.
Okay. A couple of things just to finish, and one of those I know is very, very dear to your heart, but it also comes just after the state debate announcement about a powered hydro scheme. And if you head out, a lot of people think that you're around this sort of up around Collinsville, Bowen somewhere, but it's pretty well straight out from, I guess, almost Caelan. So they're so close to each other. Yeah. So what's the future for Urannah, or is this something they've been talking about, and maybe the state knew about this as well? Has Urannah gone?
Well, Urannah's out of the current budget, which is ridiculous. Like the Coalition had $483 million in there for that.
Yep.
And that's a nation-building project. And that's got a pumped hydro component on it as well. But it's got pumped hydro right next door where we've got all those solar panels out there in Collinsville as well. So this new pumped hydro is nothing more than a thought bubble. Urannah Dam is ready to go. There's 483 from the Coalition. There's private equity. It's been through the Infrastructure Australia Committee. It's ready to go. It provides water for agriculture, mining, tourism and urban use. Ticks all the boxes. And then we want to reinvent the wheel. I don't get it.
Andrew Wilcox, who is the member for Dawson, and for those of you in the Capricornia area, that sort of goes from down Serena up the top, through the back, and Youngler, and right down to Mount Morgan. I'll be catching up with Michelle Landry later on in the program as well.
Authorised by Andrew Wilcox, Alan P. Mackay.